Anxiety about superbugs is running so high that the United Nations is doing something that's happened only 3 times before. It is holding a meeting of world leaders to discuss a health crisis. They'll gather at the UN General Assembly in New York.
A major report says worldwide deaths due to antibiotic resistance could surge from 700,000 to 10 million by the year 2050. In the U.S., 2 million people get antibiotic-resistant infections each year, and 23,000 die. Health and Human Services Secretary Sylvia Mathews Burwell will address the UN General Assembly today. Secretary Burwell, good morning.
Good morning.
So what specific action are you advocating in terms of antibiotic use?
So there are 3 things that we think are extremely important to focus on to help with the problem. Number 1, we need to stop overusing antibiotics. And I know it's a temptation. I'm the mother of a 6- and an 8-year-old, and I know what it's like when you go to the doctor, but making sure only when needed. 2, we need better tests for determining whether you need antibiotics. When you visit your doctor, they don't always know. And then the 3rd thing we need is new antibiotics, because we have so much resistance, as you said, with 23,000 people in the United States dying every year and 2 million getting illnesses that are resistant. We need new antibiotics.
So what can you say, what will you say to make sure they hear you today? Because this is not a new topic.
It is not, but fortunately, as was mentioned, this is the first time that we've had this global conversation, and it's something we all need to do together. I'm going to focus on those 3 points, as well as make sure that people are talking about it in their countries. The attention that the UN will give this issue is going to raise it, I think, in countries around the world.
Can we talk about Zika funding? Because it's been holed up now since February. What problems do you think that that's causing?
Well, so for us at the Department of Health and Human Services, we are working very hard on a vaccine. We are working hard on tests to make it faster and easier to determine whether you have had Zika or not. And in addition, we need to do things like support states like Florida, where there is local transmission, which means the mosquito in Florida is passing Zika. Many of the cases in the United States, in the 50 states, there are over 3,000, come from people who have traveled. But in Florida, it's where the mosquito is biting people, so we need to help with control of that mosquito. That's what that funding's for, and it's essential that we have it by October 1st.
But was some of the alarm, perpetrated by government officials to try and, it hasn't turned out that bad in terms of the infections in Florida, has it?
Actually, in the United States altogether, if you count Puerto Rico, we have 20,000 cases. In Puerto Rico alone right now, there are 1,000 women who have tested positively for Zika and are pregnant. In the continental U.S., we have high numbers as well. And right now in the U.S., 19 babies have been born with microcephaly.
Anthony Fauci, as you know, is the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, says that they are having to use funds from other diseases, other things, to fund the Zika thing. Is that true? Is it really a funding problem?
It is. First, we had to take money from Ebola, and I think many people don't realize that actually as recently in the last months, we've had to send teams from the U.S. back into West Africa to make sure that we're not going to have, they tested and may see cases, and we're doing that. We had to take funds from Ebola at first. Because the Congress did not give us funding before they left in August, as the Secretary, I had to make decisions, and Tony Fauci reflected what I did, which was I had to take money from other disease research, such as cancer, to make sure that we could continue to make progress on the vaccine for Zika. October 1st, we're at the end of the line, and so for all of those reasons, the Congress needs to act by then.
Secretary, can we ask you about opioid overdoses? President Obama did declare this week Prescription Opioid and Heroin Epidemic Awareness Week. Overdose deaths remain at a record high. Is there a point that you believe this may get better at some point? Do you think we are turning any sort of a corner with all the attention that's been on it in recent times?
So the attention is making a difference in terms of people focusing on the problem. And there are 3 areas that we need to focus on deeply in the area. Number 1 is in prescription and prescribing. I think you've seen the numbers. In 2012 alone in the U.S., there were 250 million prescriptions for opioids. And so helping with prescriber practices, giving doctors tools. Number 2, making sure we get funding for medication-assisted treatment. In the U.S. now, we have so many people that suffer from abuse. These are the steps we need to take. Progress is being made. The funding for that will be very important.
Whether it's the painkillers or the antibiotics, overprescription remains a big problem.
Yeah,
that's right. And that's why we've put out new guidelines to try that. You probably saw that the Surgeon General announced a pledge and asking for a pledge for health providers to take a pledge about what they will do to contribute to that issue. And right now, we've already had, he just did it recently, and already 17,000 have signed up for that pledge to help with this issue. But individuals need to do it too. If you're in your home, if you have any of these drugs, you need to get rid of them. You know, that's part of what happens. Some of them are prescribed, some of them are taken from others.
And what is the position of your office on the breakup of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt? Were you talking about that yesterday? I'll bet that came up in a meeting.
You know, I would just say, as for any couple that's going through that, I think giving them their space and their children their space is probably the most important thing we can all do.
You are absolutely right about that. Thank you. You've got a
Gail
good
likes
sense
to
of
end
humor.
on a light note.
Yeah, you've got a good sense of humor. Good luck with your address today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
That is Sylvia Mathews Burwell at the table with us.